hello. Welcome back to our weekly Reinvention Show, a place where we come together to explore how do we not just survive the constant disruption and uncertainty we all facing today, but actually thrive in it. How can we not just make it through the storm, but use the power of the storm to fill our sails with new wind, whether it is new career opportunities, new products and services for our companies, new traditions, new ways of doing things, new sources of opportunities and income and direction for our families and for our communities. Whatever is the opportunity in front of us, the question is how do we learn to find that opportunity, elevate that opportunity, and actually catch that opportunity as we are facing constant change, constant disruption, constant uncertainty. Let me know in the comments where you're joining me from. My name is Nadia Zhaksimbayeva, and I'm the founder of the Reinvention Academy and the Global Alliance of Reinvention Professionals. And essentially, this new field is an integrative field. Just like finance integrates centuries of work around accounting, around treasury, around financial controlling, all of those separate disciplines grew at different times through history and then were integrated by one field of finance. Same reinvention is a field that integrates different streams of work in strategy and foresight and innovation and research and development, in design thinking, Scrum Agile, organizational development and change, and many other disciplines. So I'm happy to see you here as integrators. And I wonder where around the world you're joining us from, because we also integrate different regions, different industries. I see that Belarus is here. Welcome, Stas. Happy to see you. I am in Columbus, Ohio, United States, back with you. I'm very excited to see Martina here. Martina is joining us from Slovakia. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I know that we always have a very international community. So just right now you see US is here, East Tennessee and United States is here. Welcome. We're happy to have you. We have Europe here. We have US here. I know that we always attract people from all other parts of the world. We're excited that you're here. We welcome you. As today we're talking about the new rules of the game. The new rules of the game. And I don't say this lightly. I truly mean that we're going through fundamental change. Fundamental change. If before disruption happened only once every 5, 10, sometimes even 40 years, today disruption happens every week. And when disruption happens every week, we have to live by different rules of the game than we did before. Let me compare that to snow. If you, like somebody in our Facebook community, live in upstate New York, I had a luxury of going to school in Catskills in mid part, but for New York City, that's all upstate New York. So I went to college in the mountains in the Catskills of New York. It was traditionally very in the winter, quite strong winter, and it would snow regularly every year, quite a lot of days. If you know that it will snow every year and it will snow most of the days of the winter, you will be prepared for that snow. You will learn how to clean the snow. You will have warm clothes. You will have equipment, shovels and trucks and snow cleaning equipment. You would have skills of driving in the snow and dealing with the snow. And finally, you will also learn how to use snow as an opportunity. That's why Catskill has mass amount of winter resorts, skiing resorts of different kind, and really high quality skiing. Because somebody said, well, it snows all the time. Why not? Instead of just looking at it as an annoyance, as a disruption, as a threat, why not turn it into opportunity? Compare that to somebody who lives in Florida or in Dubai, where it doesn't snow ever, or maybe it snows once every 50 years. Do you have the skills of dealing with the snow? Do you have warm clothes? Do you have equipment? Do you have routine standard operating procedures? Do you have training on how to drive in the snow? Of course not. You don't. Because when snow happens only once every 20, 50 years, there's no reason for you to invest in skills, invest in equipment, invest in mindset shift, invest in the tools. That's the same with change. When change used to happen only once every 50, 60, 70 years, and then more recently every 5, 10 years, that's still a chance to treat change as an isolated event, as something that we can survive and then go back to business as usual. And that is a whole different game than when we understand that change, disruption, uncertainty will be happening to us every single day, like snow. We need to have shovels, and we need to have cars, and we need to have snow tires, and we need to have skills, and we need to have standard operating procedures and people whose job it is to deal with snow. And that's what we're seeing in companies that are able to deal with today's new reality, and people and companies that are not able. People who are able to reinvent their careers, and people who are not able. And Sherry Sutton, who lives in Florida, she's like, we don't have skills to deal with the snow. Absolutely. When it happens rarely, it's natural that you don't have the skills. But unfortunately, if we build the parallel, if the snow is our metaphor, and we build the parallels with change, for all of us, change for many, many decades was like snow in Florida. Happens almost never. And therefore, most of us look at that as a massive annoyance, look at change as something bad, look at change as something annoying and disruptive, and having no skills, no tools, no processes, no standard operating procedures to address that. And that is our question. How do we develop new rules of the game, new approaches, new standard operating procedures in a world where change is constant? So I see more of us are joining. One of my childhood friend and an amazing strategy consultant from Moscow is joining us. Anya, happy to see you. I want to hear in the chat, in the comments, what are the new rules of the new world that you are seeing for yourself? And I'll mention just a few that I posted recently that went quite viral, the post where we shared how it was versus how it will be. And I shared that how it was, we were forced or we were invited to reinvent every 30, 40 years. And today's research shows how it is and will be. We have to reinvent every 2 to 3 years to survive. That's a whole different ballgame. This is now a mass production. One rule that I shared is that it used to be that you had narrow specialization, because in a stable world of long cycles, you can do the same thing over and over for 30 years and you become an expert in one field. Narrow specialization. You are an expert in one field. And today what we're seeing is that if you don't have cross-functional competence, if you're not able to build across different disciplines, not just being good lawyer, but also lawyer and understanding marketing and understanding PR and understanding operations. If you are not able to go from discipline to discipline, it's very hard for you to be effective in your also cross-functional discipline. And I know that Beverly loves that final rule that I mentioned in the post, that change was perceived as a bug, as something wrong with the system, where now we're seeing change as a feature, as an opportunity. This rule came after one of my talks to IT community. And I was explaining the cycles. I was explaining how we used to reinvent every 30, 40, 50 years. And now we have to reinvent every 1, 2, 3 years to survive. And therefore, if change was a nuisance and annoyance in the past, a rare event, it's a normal everyday event today. And she said, oh my God, I understand it now. I need to see change not as a bug, as something wrong in the program, but change as a feature of the program that I should use and utilize for my skill. And I love that. So change as a bug versus change as a feature is a big mental shift that allows us to see new rules. So let me know in the comments what new rules you are seeing. How can we not just survive in a constantly disrupted world, but actually thrive in it? What does it mean? And while you're typing, I will speak about one rule, and it has to do with perfectionism versus speed to market. Perfectionism versus speed to market. So to remind you of our classic information that we share a lot through all of the work of Reinvention Academy, we talk about S curves and standard life cycles, whether it's a life cycle of a company or life cycle of a career or life cycle of a product. Everything goes through a life cycle. This is the startup stage or the beginning of the career. Then you grow, and then comes the kind of maturity stage where you are at the peak of your experience. And here is the time for you to reinvent, to start a new S curve. These are the standards, the classics of strategy. You know this research a lot. But what is not equally known is that if before the average life cycle of a typical business was 75 years, and that meant if you need to reinvent halfway through the cycle, you have about 37 and a half years until it's time for you to reinvent. Our recent research, and we're just about to start 2022 research, but 2020 research that the median for 2020 was 6, which means that you have to reinvent every 3 years or less. So instead of reinventing every 40 years, suddenly you need to reinvent every 3 years. This difference means that you no longer can afford perfectionism in almost all industries. There are some industries that includes, for example, nuclear power plants. We still want them to go steady and take their time and not rush to market. But in almost all industries today, the new rule is speed to market if the old rule was perfection. So in the past, if you think about how new products were developed, they were developed in super long cycles. So you had 5, 6, 7, 10 years to develop and perfect the product. You could create focus groups. You can have a product in R&D lab for years and years and years before it ever sees a single approach to market. You can do tests behind closed doors. So you spend long time perfecting the product before you launch it. And today it's very clear that those who wait until perfection comes lose their position permanently. That unless you are testing the waters quickly, maybe your product is not yet perfect, what is known as minimal viable product, MVP. You can bring an MVP to the market as soon as you have anything that is minimal viable, so that you can get valuable feedback from real customers as they are going through rapidly changing demands and adapt your product again. So if in the past you would develop a perfect product and then test it in market and have a long launch process, your runway was super long and the launch was super long. So it was normal to take years to develop a new product. Today, we have to bring things to market super quickly. And that's very uncomfortable. Perfection versus speed to market. This transition has been uncomfortable for whole generations of professionals because they literally feel like they are selling their soul. That everything that they held dear to their heart, what it means to be a true professional, what it means to care, what it means to do diligent work, is now challenged because they are forced to send half-baked product to the market. And I want to take a second and change your perspective on this. Speed to market doesn't mean that you can afford putting out horrible products and betray your professionalism and your sense of duty and quality. Speed to market means that instead of testing behind closed doors, you start thinking about testing in the open. You are not doing things in a focus group setting or controlled setting, but you actually bring things to market as early as you can. I'll give you an illustration from Reinvention Academy. Reinvention Academy creates new programs on a regular basis. But before we even consider fully developing the product, we put together an approximate idea, an approximate pricing, and put a simple landing page, just a website, where people can purchase that product before it's created. If we have a minimal number of customers, we continue with the development of the product and we give them all kind of thank yous and bonuses for believing in us early. But if we don't reach the minimal that we set for ourselves, we return the money with some big gift to our early customers. No question asked, all your money back with plus a gift. And we abandon the idea and we develop a next idea. Again, we sell our product before it's even developed, specifically so that we can get early feedback and then continue polishing and perfecting the product to bring it to the level necessary. So it's not that we abandon our sense of quality, our sense of due diligence, our sense of responsibility to our customers, but we engage our customers in the process of developing or development of the product, and therefore get to market faster and create opportunities that are higher quality, that are closer to what is needed on the market. So I want us to start a conversation on the new rules, and those rules are fundamentally different. They require a whole different way of looking at things. If before, having one career was a sign of being a true professional, and hopping from company to company or from career to career made you look like you are flaky, like you are unreliable, like you are not loyal. Today, moving from career to career, moving from company to company, most of the time, not always, of course, there are situations where it is a personality problem or a professionalism problem, but most of the time is actually a benefit and asset, because we get an employee who is able to verse in different industries, who've seen more than one company, who is flexible and open and not too set in his or her ways. I see that Sherry is saying we have to change our mindset about change to be able to look at change differently. Absolutely. It starts here. Before we're able to run our businesses differently, our careers differently, we need to shift some fundamental perspective. Beverly says, another new rule I would like to contribute is seeing authenticity as a strength instead of vulnerability. Seeing authenticity as strength. It's the same as perfection, right? Before, perfection was so polished and so packaged that we lost some authenticity in the process, that we were no longer the true and honest selves. And today, authenticity is what connects us, what creates trust between us and our fellow team members, or between us and our customers, between us and our suppliers. Nobody wants to hear a fake story or a polished story. We trust people who show their vulnerability because they are not afraid to be transparent with us. So I love that today authenticity is a strength, not a weakness. It's a strength, not a weakness. Are there any other rules? If you are interested in spending time and developing the rules that are relevant for your company, if you're a consultant, trainer, and coach, then both for your own business and for your clients. If you are a business owner, then for your business. And if you are in a corporate organizational setting for your organization, we have a great opportunity for you. Next week, we're hosting our free live online Easy Reinvention Lab. The lab is an experience that we do every few months, but this one will be last for many months to come, because we will shift direction in April, and the next lab will be of a completely different nature. So this is your last chance to grab this set of tools. We use our own tools, including the Titanic Syndrome test, as well as tools of others, including the Blue Ocean strategy, to help you develop your rules. So if you would like to take time and think about this question deeply and actually develop the new rules for yourself, develop the new rules for your team, maybe develop the new rules for your family, because very often I have conversations with our youngsters. In the last couple of weeks, the number of requests I had to talk to teenagers, my friends call me and say, well, you have an 18-year-old. Can you talk to my 17, 18-year-old who is not sure what to do with their college career? And I spend time drawing the cycles for them and explaining how, in the new world of constant change, the idea of education is different, and the idea of professionalism and a career is different. So, if you want to develop your own new rules, whether it's for your company, for your team, for your family, for your product line, we would love to see you at the next Easy Reinvention Lab. It starts this Monday. You don't need much time. It's only about hour and a half a day. You can do it alone or with your team. And of course, if you cannot join us live, as we hold our sessions on Zoom live every day, you can always watch a replay and do the corresponding worksheets as you're watching the replay. But we invite you to develop the rules, because one thing is very clear: the past rules are not only not working, they're actually dangerous. So those companies who are still attached to the idea of perfectionism are sinking and dying right now. Those companies that are still attached to the idea that this all disruption, whether they look at COVID-19 or regulatory disruption or economic disruption or political disruption, those of you in a geopolitically unstable context, or technological disruption, they're still thinking that this is temporary, that this is passing very soon. We just need to tighten our belts and wait until things stabilize. The facts are pretty clear. They are not going to stabilize. If it's not COVID, it will be political instability. If it's not political, it will be economic crisis. If it's not economic crisis, it will be a new competitor. If it's not a new competitor, it will be a new supplier, a new boss, a new regulation, a new environmental situation. It's always something. It will not stabilize. So our challenge is not to survive until things stabilize. Our challenge is to learn how to thrive in constant instability, constant disruption, and constant uncertainty. So I hope you use this Reinvention Show as an invitation to spend time at today's coffee conversation or dinner conversation and just put the piece of paper in front of you, a napkin, and write the rules, the past rules, what it meant to be successful in the past in a stable world, and what it means to be successful today. And of course, join the Easy Reinvention Lab to do that. I see that Kirk says real-time testing requires courage, and we have to create a safe environment for employees and colleagues to behave this way. 100%, Kirk, I'm with you. Psychological safety is a huge subject within Reinvention Academy. We actually just did a session on different types and levels of psychological safety, and how do you build safer, continuously more safer and safer environment. So 100%, you cannot test an experiment if you know that you can be fired for a smallest mistake. We have to create a safe environment, and we also have to lead by example. So it's not enough just to say, hey, go experiment. You have to actively experiment yourself as a leader of the company to show the way and to show how failures are a source of information and not a sign of unprofessionalism. So absolutely. And Sherry says, I'm seeing we need to change how we meet and incorporate technologies and systems to maximize face-to-face time. I love that, Sherry. I think that's a great topic for the Easy Reinvention Lab. You can come with just that topic, reinventing the way we meet. And you can use every day of the lab just to focus on that one topic. Usually we have few hundred people going through the lab together. I think we're about 400 registrations right now. It's professionals from all over the world. So you will see different focuses. Some people will be reinventing the way they meet. Some people will be reinventing their products. Some people will be reinventing their services. Some people will be reinventing their personal practices or their team practices. Some people will be reinventing their business models. All of those are great options. So I invite you to join the Easy Reinvention Lab. Again, in your comments, you can find a link from Stanislav's. This is how it looks like. The next Easy Reinvention Lab starts on Monday, February 21st. It's free, it's live, but you can also watch a replay. You don't need to travel anywhere and spend time or money on any kind of investment on travel. So we would love, love, love to see you at the lab and help you develop your new rules. I am excited to see all of your new rules. I invite you to keep posting the new rules in the comments. What were the old rules of being successful in a stable, predictable world of long cycles, the 20th century world of long cycles, and what is the new rule book for the short cycles, for rapid change, for constant disruption, and for the high level of uncertainty. Not how do we beat those, because we cannot, it's bigger than us. Not how do we survive until things normalize, because they won't normalize. It's how can we be successful in that world? How can we actually enjoy that world? How can we be happy and thriving in that world? I would love to see more of your ideas on the new rules. As I said, few that I already mentioned, that we need to reinvent more often and treat it as a process, not a project. That we need to think of our careers not as a narrow specialization, but as a cross functional competence. And that we need to go speed to market faster than having attachment to our own perfection. So, perfection versus speed to market. Those are my contributions, but yours are so beautiful. So, I would love, love, love to see more of your suggestions, more of your ideas. Just as Beverly was commenting here, give me in the comments what you're seeing, what are the new rules that are helping you. And of course, I hope to see you at the Easy Reinvention Lab. We start on Monday at 12 noon. If you cannot join us live, you can always watch a replay. So grab a registration. Make sure you bring your team, because research is very conclusive that when you bring an accountability partner, the success in reaching your goal goes up. And I'm super excited to share this experience with you. Until the next Reinvention Show, you have an amazing, amazing rest of the day. And of course, finish your week strong. Thank you for joining me today.